Hi everybody, this is Angie from Tourangie.com, and today this is part 2 of Route 219. We have done Peterstown, and this is going to be the Lindside video. We're probably technically really about 4 minutes away from Lindside, but I figured I would start it early because we didn't get to some of this on the last video, and that way you could see the pretty, I just love this area. You know, the farmland in between the hills and the mountains on each side. It's just a beautiful area. It's my favorite stretch of the road through here. Of course, it's not curvy, so that's nice too. We'll be ending the video very close to the entrance to James Monroe High School. So if you're familiar with this area, you'll know kind of where the beginning of this is, obviously, and where the video will end around James Monroe High School. So some of the historical markers, there are several in this area, so we'll just talk about them now. We're not going to be passing directly by them when in the video when I'm talking about it, but make a drive out here and you'll be able to see them really easily. So the first one is the Dr. Henry Lake Dickinson. Some of you may know the name Dickinson and familiar with it from my Bluefield videos, especially with Bluefield State University or Bluefield State College. Um, H.L. Dickinson, a noted educator, was from Lindside, and the grandson of slaves. Graduated from Bluefield College Institute in 1910 and then Ohio State University in 1913. He returned to the Bluefield College Institute to teach math and became president of the college from 1936 to 1952 and led the Bluefield State Teachers College to full accreditation. Dickinson headed then to Morristown College in Tennessee from 1953 until his death in 57. But Dickinson Hall at Bluefield State University is named after him, obviously. So I thought I had to go on and mention him because he's here from Lindside, and there is a historical marker just up the road from here. Also, there is another historical marker, and it's north of here. I would say a couple miles, maybe 4 miles from this point. We're not quite at Lindside. I've always considered this area Lindside, this whole area, but we're actually not even in the unincorporated town of Lindside yet. But this historical marker is 2 miles north of Lindside, and I don't know that I'll see it to point it out in the video, but it's the grave of Elizabeth Graham Stogehill, and I'm hoping I pronounced that right. Stogehill, it's something like that. But basically, atop of the hill on the Coulter farm is the gravesite of Elizabeth Graham Stogehill from 1770 to 1858, and her husband Joel is also buried there. In 1777, at the age of 7 years old, Elizabeth was captured by a band of Shawnee Indians who raided her home at Lowell and then took her to Ohio. She was found and ransomed by her father, James Graham Sr., in 1785. The gravesite is located in 1973. The gravesite was located and by Carrie Reardon, which is Graham's great 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 granddaughter of the Lowell homesteader. So I thought that was pretty neat that they found the cemetery and actually found the grave of Elizabeth Graham Stogehill. And like I said, it's north of Lindside. I'd say we're right now in Lindside. Did you see a little unincorporated sign over on the right saying Lindside as I was driving by? I'm not sure. But it's 2 miles north. In fact, it's at the corner of a road. Cook's Run Road. That's the name of it. Cook must be a pretty common name for Monroe County at that time because there's also a Cook's Fort. Now, it's not on this road. It's actually on Route 122 near Greenville. But that's still near, well, it's in Monroe County. So the Cook's Fort is actually located near Cook's Mill. So Cook must be a very common name back in the day, especially for the Monroe County area. I think right now you can tell that we're more in the Lindside area. You see a few more businesses and stuff. You maybe spotted the sign back there saying the unincorporated uh, town of Lindside. So let's talk a little bit about how about Monroe County in general. So, based upon the name Monroe, I guess you can tell what Monroe County is named for. Yes, President James Monroe is what it was named for. And basically, there's about 12,376 people in the area in this county. We haven't mentioned that the county seat is Union. Union is probably 2 videos from now. I think we've got one more video to do. It's going to be the Pickaway area. I've got some historical markers and things to talk about there. And then Union. And Union is very historical. Lots of historical sites. Uh, there's just a lot with Union. It's a cute little town. I love it. But then there's other little sections of Monroe County off of 219. Like I said, Route 112, this something. Route 3, that's a major one that goes through Alderson towards, goes into Summers County towards Hinton and stuff. So there's all kinds of cute little towns and great roads to just drive around on to see some scenery. So Monroe County was formed in 1799 from Greenbrier, and of course, like I just said, named for President James Monroe. In this county lived Colonel Andrew S. Rowan, who in 1898 carried the news of the American intervention to General Garcia, which was leader of Cuba at the time. Uh, there is a house in Union called the Rowan House. We'll read the historical marker for that too at some point when we 2 videos from now. But I thought I would go on and mention that. Now, back before the formation of Greenbrier County, which helped to make Monroe County, it was part of Virginia, obviously. That was before West Virginia even became a state. But it was bought and taught in Montgomery counties in 1778 that helped to form Greenbrier County, which then helped to form Monroe County. So there's a little bit more information. And of course, this Western Ridge, that actually ended up becoming West Virginia, that was basically at that point in time the Revolutionary War, and just there, little thereafter. That was like the dividing line right there, to consider everything west of that point, the great frontier, so to speak, because there was not uh, major populations heading this way. And when there was, it basically was a lot of immigrants, a lot of Germans, and Scots-Irish. So it was a lot of the Western Front here in this area back in the late 1700s. Okay, so right now we are at James Monroe High School. Like I said, video, I'm going to shut it off right now. It's technically got a Lindside address. And James Monroe is the only high school in Monroe County, and it was opened in 1994 when they consolidated Peterstown, which was one of the schools, and Union High School. And there's about, I think, like 500 kids at this school, if I'm not mistaken. I could be a little bit wrong on those numbers, but I think it's about 500. Um, it's a pretty big distance in a way to go to high school, but this is not a populated county, so with a lot of population. So, but anyway, that's all for this video, and we'll start video number 3 of Route 219 coming up next. It's going to go Rock Camp, I think, Pickaway. We'll talk about the Big Lime, maybe. All right, talk to y'all later. This is Angie from Tourangie.com. Bye-bye.